Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on Good Day Connecticut at 7 o'clock. I'm Tim Lammers.
And I'm Amanda Rouse. A lot to get to this morning, but all right, thanks so much, Joe. Well, you've heard us talking about this before. Many parents concerned about concussions when their children are playing sports. Football has come under fire. What about rugby? You may be surprised to hear that some say rugby is actually safer than football. Joining us this morning, rugby coach Denis Horrigan and Simsbury High School rugby player Luke Sauls. First, Denis. Well, thank you both for being here. I should say that first and foremost. But diving in here, why can rugby be safer than football?
Yeah, it's kind of this paradox. A lot of people are surprised to hear this, right? But if you watch rugby, it's a sport that's played without any pads. There are no helmets, there are no shoulder pads, and it's kind of what we call the paradox of padlessness, where because you don't have that armor, you can't throw your body around with reckless abandon. So you end up playing safer. And in fact, there's a much lower incidence of serious injury in rugby than there is in football and actually many other sports. Soccer, hockey, cheerleading, actually. So it's a sport that's a lot safer than people expect.
And also, as a coach, you teach your players certain ways of how they should be playing the game, how they should be tackling, per se.
Well, you know, that has to do a little bit with the culture of rugby as well. Rugby is the fastest growing sport in the country. It's the second biggest sport in the world, and a lot of that comes because of the culture. You know, the culture of rugby is one that's there's a great sense of camaraderie, there's a great sense of respect, there's a great sense of teamwork. So people love the sport, and when you go out on the field, you're taught to respect your opponent, not to try to kill your opponent, but to respect them, to hit them hard, yes, hit them safely, and then actually help them up off the ground. So one of the things we love about rugby is the ethos of rugby. It teaches all of those life lessons that we all wanted youth sports to teach our kids when we originally put them into youth sports when they were little.
All right, and Luke, you play. So talk to me a little bit about the things that you've learned along the way.
Well, instead of like football where it's an 11-man sport and there's a running back, there's linemen that help block. Rugby, you can't block, so it's 1 versus 15. You can't be a star when there's 15 people trying to tackle you. That's when teamwork comes in handy, and that's when the best teams end up making the best passes, win the game. That's the difference between the ego of football and rugby and the camaraderie of the sport.
And do you feel a little bit safer? I mean, why did you choose rugby over, let's say, you know, playing football at the high school?
Well, I've been playing football since about 2nd grade.
Oh, okay.
But I had to stop because of the injuries I suffered. I suffered an injury that I now can no longer play. But I've been playing for spring, summer, and sometimes winter for the past 2 years since I was a freshman in high school, and I've suffered no injuries so far that have stopped me from playing a game. I'm more conscious about my body. I'm not going to put my head in harm's way. I'm going to attack with my shoulder, do what he tells me, and it's so far worked out.
All right, do what he tells me. I like that. Now, professional and college teams are actually now looking to rugby to learn those different techniques and pass along those lessons. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Probably 5 years ago or so, Seattle Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll brought in professional rugby players from Australia and New Zealand to teach his team how to tackle better. So you're talking about professional athletes who've been playing football for probably 10, 15 years being taught how to tackle. That may not have gone over very well, but they actually embrace the idea of rugby tackling, which takes the head out of the tackle and actually teaches people to tackle with their shoulders and their arms and not their head. And the Seattle Seahawks went on to become Super Bowl champions and the best defense in the NFL. That's been adopted by teams like Ohio State, Oklahoma, TCU. College teams are now embracing the idea of tackling in the rugby format, and it's had huge success.
Wow, which is pretty impressive. And I guess, you know, last question for either of you. If someone's interested in this, because I don't know a lot about rugby. I can't say that I'm probably going to be playing it anytime soon, but how do players get introduced to this?
Yeah, it's, as I said, it's the fastest growing sport in the country. And actually in Connecticut, we have a thriving high school rugby program, both boys and girls.
Oh, okay.
There are new teams popping up every year. There's a growing youth rugby program throughout Connecticut. So I would suggest, you know, you can either check with CT Rugby, ctrugby.com is a website, and we can help people get a program started. I would suggest you talk to your athletic director at your high school and encourage them to get a program started. There are many ways to get a program started, and the rugby community is always there to help people get one started.
All right. Thank you both for coming in this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, coming up next for you here on Good Day Connecticut, we are introducing you to a fun-loving puppy in our Pet of the Week segment. Stay tuned to meet this one when we come back.